so happy to see your names and some of your faces. It's great to be with you here together, even though we're virtual. So today's topic on employee temperature screening started from an email that I sent out asking for some companies to speak with another one of our local industries about this subject, and I had a lot of response in general on this topic. So that clued me into bringing this forward in a manufacturing council so that many of us could benefit from hearing best practices and just understanding what others are doing, and hear some new technology that one of our local companies is working with that might be of interest to you. So again, thank you and welcome to this call. Meredith Berger, Greensboro Chamber, Existing Industry Services. And today we're going to hear from 7 of our local employers, mainly in the manufacturing field, 1 in distribution, and on their best 5 minutes on their best practices and what they're doing as far as employee temperature screening goes. And following that, we're going to hear from the Brady Services team about some new fever detection technology that they have to share with you. So we're looking forward to that. First and foremost, also, if you would like to hit your mute and select to mute yourself during the call, just so we can minimize background noise, that would be great. We're going to aim to have this call done within an hour for your reference. And if we have questions, please use the chat function down below. You'll see that, and we can try to get to some of those questions. And we will definitely do some follow-up after the call for those of you who need more information. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Jeremiah Cornett. He is the plant manager over at Rego Products out at Rock Creek. And Jeremiah, I'll let you kick it off.
Sounds good, Meredith. Just again, appreciate it. We are in actually our 7th week of screening. We actually have 3 versions. All are very similar. Just a couple of fine differences once we get to the plant floor. So the one that I've been authorized to share, I will bring up now.
Why don't you go eat something? You haven't eaten anything. Why don't you go eat?
All right, so what we've done in our facility, as you can see, we've quarantined off our entry points within our facility. I'm going to be speaking specifically to the front office personnel. We've identified a proper PPE for what we call our screener. They must have at a minimum a mask, nitrile glove, and an arm sleeve. We also have plexiglass screening stations, as you'll see in this picture here. Oops, apologize. At the screening station, we have dots for each day of the week. We found that more efficient than handwriting out or printing out labels for each day of the week. So we're color coded for every day of the week. Also, we have masks that we provide for our employees. In our front entry process, when they come to the front, we'll allow 2 people in our front entrance at one time. As you can see, we actually have a spot out here that is actually gated. They have to buzz to get in. So what they'll do is they'll buzz to get in. They'll come and see our screener. Anyone that comes in behind them, they have to wait until there's an open spot, either in front of the screener or back on this side, and they have to maintain the 6 feet of social distancing. Once inside, as you see, we poke our hand through the hole in the plexiglass, put their hands over their eyes to protect their eyes from the thermometer, take their temperature. Ours is 100.4. If they're below 100.4, they can proceed. I'll go over what happens if they don't. So once they get cleared from their temperature, they'll take the sticker. As you can see, the days of the week. They'll wear it on their person. They're supposed to have it on their person at all times. If anyone in the plant loses their sticker, they have to go get rescreened again. This is just in case someone sneaks through the back door. After that, they'll sanitize their hands. Then they'll get a mask. After they've sanitized their hands, they'll pinch the top, put it on behind the ear, and they'll pull it up and below their face. We do have, I'd say we're probably 80% people are now wearing their homemade mask. We chose the Pennsylvania Department of Health guidelines for homemade masks, which follows the CDC's. Then they're issued a pair of gloves. This is what our employees look like before they're allowed to go to the floor, minus their safety glasses and, of course, their steel-toed shoes. If any of our employees have come in and their first temperature is 100.4 or greater, we send them in this quarantine area for a period of 5 minutes at least, sometimes 5 to 10. And then we'll take their temperature again. If it still remains at 100.4 or above, then we have our protocol that we do internally of exiting. So that's pretty much all that I can share with you. The other ones have pictures of the shop floor, which I can't show you. The one exception is that our employees, when they come into the facility, they swipe in, and we have rented portable hand washing stations, and they have to wash their hands for 20 seconds before they can proceed to the screening station.
Thank you. Jeremiah, you have a quick question. How many employees are on your shop floor?
So we have at the Rock Creek facility, we have 110 people on the shop floor. We have 2 shifts right now. We were a 3-shift operation. Due to the screening process, we had to actually realign our shifts. We now work 2 4 10-hour shifts and then a weekend shift.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, next, we're going to have Joanne. Joanne Ewan is actually the director and regional manager of human resources out at Paperworks, also up in the Rock Creek area. And Joanne, if you will, love to hear from you on what's going on at Paperworks in this process.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I don't have any pictures to share, so I'm just going to cover quickly. We started our screening about 2 weeks ago here at our facility, and we don't have quite as fancy of a setup. So for those of you who want more of a homemade type setup, we put together a plastic frame out of piping, and we took a shower curtain and stretched it across that, and our employees enter the building, and our parents, right as soon as they enter, takes their temperatures, and also using the 100.4, and we would basically send them home if we had a temperature that was out of that range or whatever. So the processes work very well. Similar PPE as you just saw. We do use a temporary service that we have. We're a 24/7 operation, so we do have to cover all of our shifts. So we have a couple of people that have come in and taken that on from us from the temp agency. And we have different start times, so we have a 6 a.m. start, a 2 p.m. start, 4 p.m. start, 6 p.m. start. So and a 10 p.m. at night. So we have a lot of shift starts that we do have to cover. All of our visitors or contractors coming in all do have to use the one entrance right now. We do use the screening questionnaire also, asking 4 basic questions: if they've done any travel, if they've currently been in contact with anyone who has been positive, if they have any of the symptoms, including some of the new symptoms that they've come out. So we have that questionnaire for anyone entering the building in addition to the temperature taking. And then we let our own employees know if they answer yes to any of those questions, do not bother coming to work. So that's worked out pretty well for us. I do have another facility in Mount Gilead, North Carolina, and that facility is using the outdoor method. So we do have set up a tent outside, and as the people come in, drive in their cars, we have someone that is screening them right in their vehicles. And that has worked well there too. Of course, they'll have to have a backup if the weather is particularly bad and they can't do that. So that's basically what we've done. It's been working well. Unfortunately, we've not had anybody that we've had to send back home or had an out of range temperature. So we're glad for that, because we do highly encourage our people to not come to work if they have any of those symptoms. It's just best to stay home. I do follow up with them on the telephone. Average screening time for us is like 10 seconds. It's very quick. We use the infrared thermometer, similar to the one you just saw, and it's very quick. We do on the, for the spacing, we put little feet on the floor so that are 6 feet apart. So as they come in, they should stand on the little feet that are on the floor. So to make sure that they're maintaining the distancing. But it flows pretty quick. We've got 164 people here in the Greensboro or the Whitson facility. That's all I have.
Joanne, is there a reason why you selected different methods of screening at the two different facilities?
Well, originally we were going to do the car method at both facilities. The week that we're initiating it is the week we were having those tornado warnings. And I thought, as long as I've got to do a backup method, I kicked in the method here in the Greensboro. And Mount Gilead so far has been fortunate, and they've been able to maintain the outdoor, although they're getting, you know, they have to have a backup in case we have tornado warnings or bad weather or anything like that. So.
Okay. Are you, Joanne, one more question. Are you recording temperatures for all employees or just those who don't meet the required temperature?
Temperatures, we're not recording anything. We just do a check mark that the people checked in, and we take everyone's temperature. Anyone coming into the building has to have their temperature taken. They're directed to not enter our front office area, that they have to go around to another entry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. Next up, we have Teresa Travis, and Teresa is the HR site manager over the skin and personal care at Procter & Gamble. Teresa, thank you for sharing with us today.
Thanks. Let's see, I'll share my, is it sharing my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, it says host disabled participant screen.
Teresa, we're gonna make you a co-host, so you should be able to do that now.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. I want my, just let me share my overall screen. Oh, share all windows. There we go. Okay, so I wanted to make sure I give you guys the picture. So Procter & Gamble, this is the Brown Summit site. We have approximately 1,000 employees and 1,000 contractors. We have roughly about 750 employees, and then those 1,000 contractors coming in daily. So we've got a big group to deal with. We chose an outside approach, but we do have a backup, so I'll tell you about that as well. Can everyone see this? Good.
Yes.
Tutorial. Okay, awesome. So what we chose is to use our parking lot. We use the same PPE as the first two have explained, with the vests and gloves and masks. We have, this is our employee parking lot, but similar, we have the same thing in our contractor parking lot with actually 2 lanes that scan. So we have individuals come in on the blue. They enter right here. We do a pre-screen. Let's see, I've got that up too. Our pre-screening basically makes sure that people check for their fever, their cough, the shortness of breath, whether or not they've had contact with anyone. Similar like the last employer, we do tell them do not report to work if any of these are a yes, and we ask them to call our health center, which is our nurses. If they are non-P&G, then their document tells them to call their employer. So they pass the pre-screen. They actually receive their mask. Then we've packaged our mask in sandwich bags and just deploy them right before they get their temperature screen. After they pass the pre-screen, they then do the temperature screen. If they pass, they can continue on straight and park and enter the building. If they do not pass, or if we need to do another screening, then they turn left and we have like the motorcycle parking lot over here that we have them stay. Why we would have them do that? We've had a couple of instances where people like to blast their heater and so their temperature's off, or they blast their air conditioning and it gives us a low reading, which we know that they are not low because they're still alive. So sometimes we have to let people sit and get ambient temperature. If they don't pass that second screen, then we do send them home with documentation telling them how to quarantine and to call their nurse, their manager, and the doctors. So we also, the reason we're giving people masks in the parking lot is because we're also trying to create the culture of wearing your mask outside. So we actually ask them to wear them from their car all the way to the entrance of the building. And this helps us also with those who do not want to listen to social distancing and still walk together and chit chat. And all our folks have about a half a mile to, like, depending on where they work in the building, it could be almost a mile walk to their workspace. So this helps us there. It also makes sure that they have masks on when they go to their uniform room to grab their uniform. So now, if it rains on us, or the tornado watch that we had the other day, we do have an internal process. So right here, this is our small, like, lobby area where there's some turnstiles that we, like, for emergency, we took the temperature right here. And then we had to send, we already had the mask, so that helped. But then we had to turn, if anybody was high, you have to turn them around and have them walk back out. This also is depicting our newest process that is coming on board, where we do have the body temperature scanners. We are still in the process of validating that process. So, but what will be the newer process is, as people come and walk up the sidewalk, they will come into the building, go into the turnstile. There are markings all along here of the 6 feet distance. And then they will actually do their temperature screening right here in a kind of cul-de-sac that we have. That's usually our digital den. If they pass, they will continue on to the locker room to get their uniforms. If they don't, we divvied up the hallway here in half, and they will do the walkthrough. And then these doors right here actually will open up. It senses the individual, so they don't have to touch anything. Again, everyone will have masks coming through here, so when they go out, they'll also have a mask, even though they will have to walk by individuals. Similar to everyone else, fortunately, we haven't turned around a lot of people, but we have turned around a few. Some were able to go home, do some monitoring a couple more times, and it was just really kind of an off reading, and they came on back. Others we have had to quarantine. And that's us.
Great. Teresa, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time. Question for Teresa real quick. Teresa, is the pre-screen a self-check, or are the pre-screen questions being asked by someone in the parking lot?
They're both, actually. So yes, we ask them to do them, and then we ask them again before we give them their mask, have they done it and did they pass?
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, next up we have Chris Miles from CULP, and Chris is the HR and Safety and Environmental Manager for CULP, and we appreciate you sharing with us, Chris.
Yes. Well, we are doing probably very similar to Rigo. We do have some guidelines, and I think I sent those to you this morning. You can share those if you like. I'm working from home this afternoon, so I don't have a way to share those, but if you wanted to share that, they're fine. But the way we started was probably close to the same time frame that they did, which was about 7 or 8 weeks ago. And we started out with, what you'll need to start through the process. And, we listed out all the items, we documented it, then we went into preparation. What preparation do you need to prepare for taking temperatures, which is, proper PPE, print out a record chart. And of course, anybody that takes their temperature is covered with PPE, very similar to what they were doing. But they also have to document everybody's temperature that is over 99.1. And in that range from 99.1 to 100.3, they had to take a second temperature just to make sure that it's not on a rise. If they took it at 99.1, it jumps to 99.9 within a matter of 5 minutes or so. Then we knew that they had something going on and they had to go home. 100.4 and above, we asked them to seek medical attention and suggest that they get tested. And of course, we put, disclaimer in there about, calling your doctor if you have difficulty breathing, shortness of breath, persistent pain, etc. The same symptoms that everybody else has been looking for. So if you want to share that document, you're welcome to. We've got about 500 employees in Guilford County. Our testers are at employee entrances. They're designated from each zone. We have zones. And of course, they're documenting and then turning into the Human Resources Department at the end of shift change. So not a whole lot of difference from what everybody else is doing. We have looked at some of the thermal options out there. They're rather expensive. They're running anywhere from about $13,000 up to $20,000. They do a good job, I think, of pinpointing multiple people at one time, but it's a little pricey for the number of locations that we've got.
Thank you, Chris. And I do have that document I can share with others as well once we wrap up. I appreciate it. Okay, next we have Julie Morgan, and Julie is with Mylan Pharmaceutical Distribution here in Greensboro. And Julie, I hope you are still there, and thank you for your willingness to share with us. Thank you.
All right, and I do have a couple of screens, so.
We can make you a co-host.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, Julie, try it now.
All right. And here we go. All right. So similar process as most everyone else. We are currently conducting the temperature measurements and symptom checks prior to the start of all of our shifts, which we do have 3 shifts. We do that for our employees, contractors, and vendors. We currently are not allowing any visitors on site. We have altered the start of some of our shifts, our start time, so that we have some set time frames for the monitoring to be conducted so that we're not having to do it basically 24/7. We did realize that, it was tedious and not going to be efficient for our staff to conduct that. So we have a nursing student who is currently performing the checks. She does have a checklist that we provide her each day. So we are not allowed to record any temperatures. So it's simply a check mark that the temperature and the symptom check questions were asked. The minimum PPE, pretty much the same. We do have the surgical mask, gloves, and we do require Tyvek gown. As far as the temperature measurement, we can only use the non-contact infrared thermometers. And if the temperature measurement is greater than 100.4, then we do ask the person to pull into our visitor parking. We are currently doing our temperature monitoring outside. We do have backup plans in place. So they are asked to pull aside for 15 to 20 minutes, and then we will conduct a second measurement. If it measures above the 100.4, then they are advised to seek medical evaluation and to contact me directly, and they are prevented from entering the facility. As far as our symptom check, again, it's upon entrance. Everyone's asked the same screening questions. Are you or anyone in your immediate household experiencing any of the following symptoms? We are currently still just using these symptoms. We have not updated it as of yet, but I think that is coming this week. So we're asking fever, cough, shortness of breath. If the answer to any of those questions is yes, again, that's for them or anyone in their immediate household, then they are advised to seek medical evaluation and to contact me, and they are prevented from entering the facility as well. In the event with bad weather that we have had, we do actually move it to our employee entrances. We have 3 entrances, but we limit it to 2. So then either me or one of my assistants will help with the temperature monitoring at that time. And we only allow 1 employee to come in the entrance at a time. So that is restricted. Okay. And just some tips, lessons learned, you know, with the checks being conducted outside, we have had some issues as far as both with heat and cold. So we have found we do need to keep the thermometers in a shaded area. So we do have a temporary structure right now. Also, some of the cold mornings, I know this sounds kind of funny, but we're using an oven mitt to keep the thermometers warm, which has worked wonderfully. We've also made sure we've informed all employees, any contractors that we know are coming on site, make sure that they don't consume hot or cold beverages right before the temperature check, and also as far as with their heat and their air, same thing. We have had some issues as far as the thermometers not wanting to read if an employee is wearing a hat, also if their hair is covering their forehead. So we do ask them to remove their hats and move their hair, and also to remain still. We have found that any kind of movement can impact that reading. As far as, you know, we do have masks for employees every day, and again with the social distancing. So, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much, Julie. There was a question in chat. It says it is mentioned that shift start time has been impacted, and by how many minutes and how many employees per shift for that impact?
As far as us changing our shift time, sorry, I'm not seeing this.
Just like the shift start time impacted?
No, we have not. We have a few off shifts, what I would say, and there are limited employees that come in on off shifts. Okay. So we actually changed their start times to reflect, you know, the majority of the group, but we have not had any issue as far as a backup or causing employees to be late because of the temperature monitoring. I would say it's probably taking minimum, like between, I would say average is about 10 to 20 seconds.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. And that may have been from another company. We mentioned that as well. So we'll follow up with that question. One more for you. Have you had anyone refuse having their temperature taken? If so, what did you do?
We have not. When we got in front of employees, you know, with the communication, you know, employees were very appreciative. They understood. They have really been receptive and, again, appreciative that we're doing this.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. Well, I'll follow up on that question as well, because I believe I've heard that mentioned from someone else in the past. So I will check back on that chat question for you. All right, next we have from ITG Brands, we have the Director of HR, Denise Carter. And Denise, thank you again for agreeing to share with the group.
Thanks, Meredith. Our process is very similar to a lot of those who have already shared. We have typically 3 entrances to our facility, and we decided to close all the entrances except one, and then ensuring social distancing we did do the 6 feet indicators, but we also expanded our arrival time. So typically 2 hours before a shift starts, we will let people come into the building, but they will have to have their temperature taken. They are also to answer the screening questions, which it's, you know, they read those and then affirm it to the nurse that we have taking these temperatures. We set our standard temp at 100 degrees. So if an employee registers a temperature of 100 degrees, we will have them go to our medical department and sit for like 15 minutes and then have their temperature retaken. If they do have an increase in temp, we do send them out with the same recommendations as everyone else has said. Contact your medical provider, contact HR, and then you know, just follow those protocols. We also decided that we would also use the forehead scanning thermometers. We had a really tough time securing those. I guess maybe everybody was in the process of trying to purchase those, but we had a tough time getting those. So we were delayed maybe a couple of weeks in getting started. So I think this is our 3rd week in conducting the temp checks. If we conduct those just inside of our entranceway, so we can easily turn people back around without them passing by other employees who are having their temps taken if they have a temperature that's 100.4 or above. That's pretty much one thing we have also. I just wanted to mention, because we offered the face mask, and we saw that a lot of people really didn't know how to don and doff those. So we provided instructions on how to properly don and doff those face masks, and encouraging them, you know, how to not only doff them, but also throwing those away. And then we have, we've also allowed some of our folks who have indicated that they're very uncomfortable or they are at high risk due to underlying medical conditions to take an unpaid leave of absence during this time. And typically our work schedule is a 24/5 schedule, but right now we are working 24/7. So we're taking, you know, extra precautions, making sure folks are taking care of themselves, eating well, you know, just trying to communicate a lot, since a lot of people are working overtime as well. And then at the time we have the temperatures taken and we ask for affirmation of the screening questions, then we will also provide the face mask. And I see the question about, are you paying employees? We're not requiring them to arrive 2 hours early. And some people come in, we're fortunate enough that we have a large cafeteria where people come in and have their breakfast or have coffee or so forth. So they're not required to come in. It's just to help with the, you know, we don't want the kind of herd mentality right at the door at punch-in time. So we're allowing people, you know, more time to come in.
Denise, have you had anyone refuse having their temperature taken at ITG?
Surprisingly, no. But we did make the decision that if they do refuse, they won't be allowed to work.
Okay.
Now, I will say not everyone is choosing to wear a face mask, which we're considering now, should we make that mandatory.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing with us.
Sure.
Okay. Last but certainly not least, we have Jeff Robeson, who is the Director of Manufacturing at Precision Fabrics Group, to share with us what they are doing.
Okay, I do have a screen to share, so I will try to pop that up.
Okay.
This, I guess the key on this, if I can make it move, kind of starts that we started recognizing things about the 1st of March. We had trouble getting thermometers too. We went about 10 days to a week, 2 weeks before we could get them. So we'd started, I think one of the keys was we locked the plant down about the middle of March and said that no one was allowed in from outside, no visitors, no interviews, and only essential services. And we put a system together where they could only come in at times that were prearranged. We started doing temperatures once we got the thermometers in. One of the things we did was we staggered the start of our shifts because we could actually do that. So we took about a third of the plant comes in. They start 15 minutes earlier than they used to, and 1/3 is on a standard time, and 1/3 is starting 15 minutes late. And they just do that for the entire week. So we're a 24/5 operation, but we work probably every other weekend. We hired or brought in 2 temporary medical attendants who do all of our screening. They're available about an hour and a half at all 3 shift changes. So they're there that whole time. There's probably a group of 3 or 4 that we are pulling from, but it's usually the same people. But they all have experience what we're asking for. We're not quite as strict on the other things. We are not recording temperatures. We're looking for 100 degrees. And what we do is if there's 2 people reading, so we're separating the people coming in into one entrance only. And if they go up above 100, or 100 or above, we do a second check on them. If that registers high, we give them a disposable thermometer and ask them to go to their car, hold it under their tongue for 5 minutes and bring it in. And then if they come in, we have an action plan where we send the individual home if they're still high, and we initiate the plan, which is really getting our nurse practitioner to get in touch with that person and our manager to ask a lot of questions about when the person started maybe feeling bad, had they felt bad, where had they been in the facility in prior days. And then we do, if we need to, we've done excess disinfecting in those areas. But we have, since we've started this, we have had no employee come in and screen at a high temperature. We spent a lot of time on education trying to make sure that they are pre-screening at home. We actually gave every employee that did not have a reusable thermometer, we gave them a thermometer to make sure they could screen at home. And we spend a lot of time reinforcing the things they should be looking at in their own health, and also understanding that if they are around other people that have an issue, they could become a carrier of the virus. So we spent a lot of times, and we've had employees come in and say they were with somebody who was with somebody who has the virus. So we've tried to make those connections and follow up on them. But I think the environment seems to be changing daily. So we are not requiring masks. We provide a reusable mask. We provide disposable masks. But we are not requiring it in almost every area except of our QC testing labs, because the associates tend to work relatively close to each other. Otherwise, social distancing is taking place throughout the facility, and it's not very difficult when you look at our size versus the number of people we've got in here. And that's mine.
Thank you. And Jeff, you all have about 350 or so over at
250.
250. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you to Jeremiah and Joanne, Teresa, Chris, Julie, Denise, and Jeff. And I know everyone appreciates your time today. And next we have Brady Services. I can't wait to hear more about this product. I have a small taste, but Hector Sanchez from the Brady team is going to go through this product with us, fever detection system. So let's give them our attention now. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Meredith. And I must say thank you to all of you for sharing what you have done so far. You must all be commended in your efforts. And so please accept our appreciation for everything you do. Brady Integrated Security is a security contractor here in Greensboro. We do cover all of North Carolina, and we're just going to give a little sample or discussion on a couple of systems that we've seen to be effective and you may want to consider. So, thermal cameras, right? So we're providing accurate real-time measurement of human body temperatures, and we're using thermal cameras to do this. And here's the purpose, right? So the purpose is caring for each other, our customers, yours and ours, and all of them, right? And as well. I will make this disclaimer, and I know that in hearing everything that you have been doing, you must realize this as well. But I will make this disclaimer about what we're going to talk about. So our devices that we offer are not medical devices. They're intended to diagnose, they're not intended to diagnose any condition or illness. So what we're going to talk about is a solution that is strictly a screening tool for you to obtain actionable intelligence. And all of you seem to have a standard operating procedure or something that happens after the initial screening. And you will need to continue to rely on that. All right, so what is the problem? The problem is just as, and I do have to apologize for, if you hear noise behind me, we have a section of the building that's under construction. Unfortunately, I'm in that section. So I apologize for that, and I hope you can hear me well. The problem is how to allow people into your building with an enhanced degree of confidence that they're free from contagious illness. So how do we do that? And it looks like, it's something you're all doing something about, right? So the enhanced degree of confidence that we're talking about here is actionable intelligence, or intelligence that you would not have had if you were not taking certain steps, okay? And with this actionable intelligence, okay, you're able to know who's coming into your protected environment with body temperature that is above normal. And of course, when I say that, it's whatever normal is for your accepted guidelines. It seems like most of you are all on the same page as far as what is the acceptable limit or who needs to be rescreened. But again, we're just providing a system that provides actionable intelligence, and then your standard operating procedures apply. All right, so what is this thermal temperature screening solution that we are talking about that will help you to protect your environment? So we're talking about a system that includes artificial intelligence for face recognition, temperature measurement algorithms, and onboard audio alarm systems. All right, so, and this is basically what it looks like. And this, we've invited a very important partner of ours, Jeff Fairbrother from Hike Vision. He's going to go through more of the technology with you and talk a little bit about that. But here is the system we're talking about. It's a camera, it's a computer, and it's a monitor. And here it is. And with that, I'm going to leave it to Jeff to go over the Hike Vision product line. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Hector. Good afternoon, everybody. We're tight on time, so I'm going to go a little fast. But if you guys have any questions, please let me know. I do have the chat option open here. But I want to agree with Hector. It's really great to see everyone, what all you guys are doing, working through the processes and coming up with ways to keep not just yourselves, your people safe, but also just keeping the pandemic less. So thank you guys for all doing this. And this could be a tool to help you guys streamline that process and reduce the amount of manpower that's needed for that process. So I'll go ahead and get started here. And Hector did hit on the nose. The very first thing there is this is a screening tool. So we've actually been working directly with the FDA. But about a month ago, we hadn't even released this product because we were waiting for FDA approval. the FDA came back to us, said since there's such a big need for this right now, you can sell this product without FDA approval, as long as you make everyone understand that it is a screening tool. And that's honestly the description of the whole industry as far as this product goes. So it is just a screening tool. The first thing that I really want to point out, though, with our product that makes us very different than just about everybody else is the accuracy range that our cameras have built into the camera themselves. So right there, you can see at the very top, our accuracy range built into these cameras is a 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit range. So for a screening device in the thermal world, that is extremely, extremely accurate. And that does it without additional equipment such as a black body, which I'll cover later, additional hardware that's needed to make those algorithms happen. All those things happen on the camera themselves. Additionally, all of these cameras that you see in front of you actually have two cameras on them. It's going to have a thermal camera as well as a visible camera. So you're getting 2 in 1. And each piece is responsible for a different part of your solution. So the thermal camera is obviously responsible for detecting temperature, whereas the visible camera is not only going to show you what's actually there, what the people look like, but it also has facial detection built into that camera as well. So that'll allow the camera to cancel out a lot of false alerts, such as if you're holding a cup of coffee or carrying a biscuit. So it's only going to be trying to screen the temperature in the facial range. And I'll show you an example here shortly. I'll talk about the handheld here in a second, but I really want to focus on the fixed cameras there. They are broken out into different distances, essentially. So the very first one there, the 1217 turret, you're about 2.5 to 5 feet away from your target. And the next one up there is about 5 to 10, and the one after that is really actually about 8 to 23. I need to fix that. And those are your 3 different ranges. Now, the 2 in the middle actually have something additional. They also have a flashing light and an audible alarm built into the camera. So with those being a shorter range application, it'll also alarm the person that set off the trigger. Or if there's multiple people, then they would all hopefully stop. And then within the video and the analytics and then the pop-up alerts, you'd be able to see which person was the one that set that off. And then you can bring them aside and scan them with your thermometer. So to show you what the whole solution looks like is you have the camera itself. They will record to a micro SD card on the camera itself. You can put this on a tripod, or you can put this on the wall. Now, we do strongly recommend putting these cameras at about 5 feet. You have a little bit of play. We just don't want to exceed more than 20 degrees as far as an angle. That's not a limitation of height vision. That's a limitation of thermal, is you want to have it as straight on as possible to create the best accuracy. Also, all of these solutions across the industry are meant for indoor environments only. So outdoor, what can happen is a lot of the wind, sun, snow, rain, everything, all the atmospheric temperatures can drastically change how accurate thermal cameras are. So you do want this indoor stable. You don't want this right underneath a heat vent because that'll also change it. But most situations near a doorway are fine. We just don't want it outside. But that's the whole thing. And also it works right with our standard VMS as well as our enterprise VMS. And if you have an existing VMS already installed, you also can pull the cameras in there as far as recording, but you will require our VMS as far as the alerts. Other alerts that you can get in this system besides the VMS, you can get app alerts on our free app. You can get email alerts. As I mentioned, you get the flashing light and the audible alarm. And also these cameras have physical outputs. So if you wanted to tie this to something else, such as access control or a separate siren, you're going to be able to do that with a little additional integration. Here is the mid-range option, very similar. Again, just the main difference is it's a longer range option, and it does not have that flashing light or the alarm, but it does give you a lot more flexibility, and you can put it farther back in your scene and not have it so up front and in people's way. Now, one thing I will say about this solution is it is a fluid solution. So again, it's about getting people in the door faster, but it's also not, as I just mentioned, it's not intrusive. So people are not having to come in, sit there for a couple seconds while it's getting scanned by other solutions that are on the market, stop, someone tells them they're good to go. Whereas this is just watching up to 30 people at once as they walk in and detect each individual person's temperature within that range. Again, it's a screening tool. And get thousands of people in the door very quickly. That also allows it to be a solution that can be used in the future. So for now, it may be used at your front door. When coronavirus ends, you may want to say, you know, let's put it over the time clock or in a common area, just so we can make sure when it's flu season, we're keeping track of that as well. And then here's the handheld. The handheld is a bit different. So the handheld does not have facial detection built in, so it is a one-by-one solution. So it's more if you want to move around, be able to have a little more mobility with it. It connects via Wi-Fi, still uses the same VMS, so you can tie all the systems together. And again, it is a single file type of solution where you want to be able to get one person at a time. Show you guys a video here. So this is the first solution. These are the fixed cameras. The first thing you guys will see, obviously, is the green box around his face. That is, again, taking the facial detection analytic from the visible side, laying it over on the thermal side. You'll also notice that the temperature is in Celsius. Here in the US, we do use Fahrenheit, so our cameras will also list in Fahrenheit. And then, as you can see, the cup of coffee there in his hand is not alarming the system. So the person behind him, you'll see he's rubbing his face. And as he comes forward, you're going to start to see that he's warming his face up, and then it will cause the camera to trigger. So you got the red box around there. You can change the color if you want to, but you're also getting the two views. You get the thermal view and then the visible view. So in this particular case, they had the app pop up with a notification. Oops, I apologize. And then that's what your notification would look like. So you got the camera name, you got the alarm type, the time and date, more information, as well as your handle there, which is a remark of some sort. So person came in with an elevated temperature, we brought them aside, hey, on 102 fever, we sent them home or sent them to medical, whatever it may be, and then those notes would save with your VMS. Also, as you can see in the notification here, you get the video, as well as the two still shots of your alert. And then here you can see, again, it's a very fluid solution, so people are walking right in. Every person has their own individual temperature that's read. So again, this is within a 0.9 degree Fahrenheit range, but you're getting multiple faces all in one solution. And again, every person individually, as you can see, it's kind of hard to read, has their individual temperature.
Jeff, we got about
And
5
then here's
minutes before we need to wrap. Just want to give you a little update on that time, if that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, no, I appreciate it. We got 3 slides left. So then here's the handheld. As you can see here, you got people coming through, and it will be a single location. And again, it is battery powered, or you can also do USB powered. And then this also has an audible alert on it as well. So if someone does detect high, it would beep as well as do all the other normal notifications. So this is the live view. We kind of saw this a little bit ago, but I just want to jump over the notifications. So in the VMS, again, you can see your notifications. In this particular one, I did add a remark. So you can see your note here. What that also does is it marks it as acknowledged. So in your real-time event center, you can see what you did acknowledge, what you didn't, and you can see all the still shots in the video. If you clear this or close it out, it'll close out all the real time. You can go to Event Center. You get your time, your date, your different cameras, priority level, and then status. And then you can see all the different ones that you just search for right there and pull up those alerts. And then, as I mentioned, the black body piece, this is something that we do not require, but you can use it if you want to. Black bodies are just constant temperature devices that do calibration for thermal devices. This is nothing new, but they are very, very expensive. They are thousands of dollars for just a calibration tool that lives in the environment where the camera can see. So with our accuracy at 0.9, the majority of the rest of the industry is at about 2 degrees Fahrenheit difference. So they actually require it, whereas we don't. One of the reasons that we can do that is we actually make our own thermal lenses, which allows us to make it a lot more accurate and work better with our solution. And lastly is, again, it do not put this solution outdoors. It is only meant for indoor. That is, again, a unique situation for thermal. Thermal just reads what temperature that it has in front of it. So ambient wind and temperature can change it drastically. The handheld has about a 5-minute warm-up period, whereas the pullets and turrets have about a 30-minute warm-up period. This is really important. So if you do turn off the camera at night, you want to make sure someone gets in there early and turns it on 30 minutes prior to people starting to walk in. And then again, heat sources such as food or drink will not cause alarm on your scene as long as those things are not in that facial zone. And that is it.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And Jeff, do you have some things you could send me that I could share with the group as well? Your contact information or those at Brady, and just some way that they could connect with you if they want more information or more details or have questions?
Yeah, I'll write up an email to Brady as well as yourself, and then you can share the information as needed. I've got a little PDF that we can share, a couple of videos if you guys want to check it out.
If anyone has a question, immediate question, you can put it over into the chat box for Jeff. Otherwise, we can certainly follow up, connect you after the call.
Very good.
Questions. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the team, you and the team from Brady presenting today. This is interesting information, and thank you for moving quickly through that. And it was very informative, and I look forward to looking into more detail at how it operates and how it could benefit employers. So thank you again so much for sharing with us.
Yeah, no, I greatly appreciate it. I'll stay on the chat here for a few more minutes, so if anyone has anything, just I'll be here.
Thank you. And again, we appreciate our employers sharing with us today, and I know we will be all talking soon. If there are any other questions you have about this topic, connecting to any of the employers that spoke today, or Jeff, the team at Brady, we're glad to make those connections for you. Otherwise, we appreciate you joining us today, and we wish you a wonderful Monday afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.